We have tried, scientifically, to understand the world and explain its mysteries by analyzing the smallest particles of things that exist. And that's given us a certain understanding, but only half of the understanding. Now, most people are brought up to be tone deaf in respect to their own existence and the rest of the universe. They don't see the relationships. They are not aware of the unity. Once you spot that, then you may be said to be living a harmonious life.
He wasn't the first to say this, but psychologist Carl Jung believed that the so-called scientific view of the world misses something very important about the nature of our lives. In his famous essay, Synchronicity, an acausal connecting principle, he describes an example where a train ticket is somehow found to have the exact same number as a theater ticket, which is bought immediately afterwards. Later, that same number is found again, this time as a telephone number. It's a series of events that seems so improbable, so unlikely to happen, that none of them can be connected by our usual understanding of cause and effect. They can only be connected by meaning. This is what Carl Jung referred to as synchronicity, which happens when an inner state of the mind is connected in a meaningful way to something in the outside world. And as it joins these two realities, it also hints at the possibility that there's no real definitive separation between ourselves and the world around us. Because the more we learn about each other, the more we find commonalities. Maybe we lived in the same city, or went to the same school, or maybe we shared the exact same dream. And when we discover these things, we're no longer strangers. It's here, as we come to know each other, that we find that much like ripples on the surface of a pond, we've always been joined, connected in ways that by all logic, we can't explain. What's striking about synchronicity is that it has what Jung calls a numinous quality, a deep sense of wonder and mystery. And when it happens, we feel something truly transcendent, deep within. In what might be his most famous example, Jung describes a patient who had a very rationalistic attitude to life that made it hard for her to embrace change. It felt like a mental block keeping her from moving forward. At this critical moment in her life, she had a vivid dream where she was given a piece of jewelry shaped as a golden scarab beetle. Just as she was telling Jung about her dream, he heard a gentle tapping on his window. He turned around and saw a flying insect tapping against the glass from the outside. He opened the window and caught it as it flew into the room. It was a scarab beetle. He handed it to her and said, "Here is your scarab beetle from your dream." The timing of these events was so astonishing that it started a process of deep inner transformation within the patient, opening her up to the wonders of her life. A kind of psychic renewal that would have been impossible if she'd held on to her rigidly scientific view of the world. What's interesting is that the scarab beetle is a classic symbol of transformation and rebirth in Egyptian mythology. How strangely appropriate then that she would see this symbol now, at exactly the moment of change in her own outlook. Synchronicities have a way of showing you exactly what you need to know, to trust in the organic unfolding of your life, to find that people don't come into your life by accident, that the universe is whispering to you all the time, and if you're receptive to it, it can steer you towards a happier, more authentic way of being. Implicit in all of this is the understanding that what's meant to be yours is already finding its way to you. When you look back and connect the dots, it's revealed that it was never truly random at all.
You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
Carl Jung believed that synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. They're happening to us all the time, but we don't always stop to see them. Here are some guidelines and techniques that I've used to notice them more often. The first is practicing mindfulness, to stay present and pay attention to the moments of your life. In a world increasingly filled with distraction, this is easier said than done, but practices like meditation can help with this. This isn't just good for noticing synchronicity, it's also great for your mental health. I like to take time out in my day to check in. You can start by giving yourself a few moments of undistracted quiet time throughout your day, where you let yourself disconnect from the noise of the everyday world, which brings a sense of calm, a shift in energy, and a feeling of stillness, all of which is great for noticing synchronicity. The second thing I like to do is to keep a journal, making a note of interesting things that happen to me throughout the day and noticing which of those things becomes meaningful. As you take the time to write down personal messages and signs you find in the events of your life, you can uncover amazing insights. Your journal can also include thoughts you have about your past. And as you remember the important events of your life, think about any meaningful coincidences that happened around those events. What messages were trying to come through? You can also think about the things that changed the direction of your life. It could be a compelling insight that came to you very suddenly, or a more gradual shift that led you to where you are now. Maybe it was a person who was important to you, or an event that was significant in your life. Whatever it was, think about how it guided you towards a better and more fulfilling path. My suggestion is that you don't necessarily have to focus on every little coincidence that happens to you, but pay special attention to those moments where you had a strong synchronicity, because those are the ones with the power to direct you towards your deeper purpose and your highest good. Here are some clues that you've had a powerful synchronicity experience. You might feel a strong sense of wonder and awe, what Jung called numinosity. These tend to have a spiritual and revelatory quality that can feel transformative. You might feel momentarily like a message has been sent to you, a message that completely interrupts your usual train of thought and takes you out of your ordinary life. It can feel like something more than just cause and effect has happened, giving you a sense of connectedness with the people in your life or with the universe itself, a sense of personal destiny, or feelings of confirmation about the path you've chosen. The synchronicities are often joyful, but they can also be found in moments of pain and trauma. It's said that your wounds are often the openings into the best and most beautiful parts of who you are. The third thing I like to do if I'm having trouble noticing synchronicity is to simply ask for a sign to enter into my life. You might find that in moments where you're dealing with a tough situation or thinking about giving up, asking for a sign can give you confirmation that you're on the right path, giving you the strength and resilience to keep going. If you do this, be open to how a sign might manifest in your life, and then be receptive to it without expecting it to happen right away. Give yourself the space to fully absorb whatever it might be. So after you've noticed them, how do you figure out what your synchronicities mean? Jung emphasized that synchronicity is meant to be interpreted from the subjective viewpoint of the person experiencing it. In other words, your own intuition and personal meanings are what decide what they mean to you. The most useful lessons and messages you gain from your synchronicities will come from your own unique experience. There's no definitive formula for how to do this, but here are some guidelines that have worked well for me. First, open up your intuition and notice what stands out to you most in your experience of the synchronicity. Usually one or two elements will stand out to you very clearly. They'll resonate and seem more relevant to your life. Once you've found one or two elements that stand out, pay attention to their symbolic meanings. For example, when Jung's patient dreamed of a scarab beetle, he looked at the symbolic meaning of the beetle itself, which is a sign of rebirth and transformation. Jung used a technique called amplification, where he looked at the symbol and compared it with the images and meanings found in myth and culture. Jung believed that there are many enduring symbols that are universal. They hint at a kind of ancestral and universal pool of memory, images, and ideas that we can all tap into. He called this the collective unconscious, which we looked at in this video. The collective unconscious is made up of powerful ancient symbols that he called archetypes. We find them in every society and culture in the world. We see it in expressions like the Great Mother, the hero, and the trickster. Secondly, once you've looked at the archetypal meaning and symbolism, look at the personal associations you have with that symbol in your own life. Again, if we're using the scarab beetle example, What personal experiences or memories do you have with beetles in your past? Maybe you can remember catching them in a jar as a child. Maybe your grandmother had a beetle statue in her home. Looking at personal meanings can reveal all kinds of interesting connections and offer clues into what they might mean for you. Repetition is also an important clue. If you find that a symbol keeps appearing over and over again in your life, that's worth paying attention to. Maybe it's an object you keep seeing, a name that keeps coming back to you, or a certain phrase that keeps coming up again and again. Be alert to what this repetition might mean. Thirdly, if you're having trouble figuring out the meaning of your synchronicity, that's okay. It might still be in the process of revealing itself to you. Make a note of it in your journal and file it away for later. The meaning of what happened to you might not become clear until some time has passed. Come back to it when you're more able to reflect and connect the dots. If you do have a powerful synchronicity experience, one of the best ways to honor that is to share it with other people. Many of us have astonishing synchronicities in our lives, but then keep it to ourselves. Maybe we're afraid that people will dismiss us as crazy or woo. But the thing is, no matter what you do, there will always be people who dismiss your experiences anyway, on pretty much any topic you can imagine. But sharing your experience with others can open you up to even more amazing connections that would be impossible if you kept them private.